Canceling walks at night. I never really thought about sharing this, but I'll give it a go. Around the year 2010, I was doing Weight Watchers. I got into this groove where I'd be going on walks all the time. Nighttime walking was nothing different. I lived with my dad in a neighborhood across the street from a Catholic church and cemetery playground. I grabbed my MP3 player and bolt out the door. I would take a route that would go alongside the church around the back out to my neighborhood, basically one large circle. So it's around 9 p.m. at night, and I was walking back home. I decided it would be fine to sit on the swings on the church playground to cool off and listen to some tunes. I might have been there for 6 to 7 minutes. I got off the swing and turned towards the cemetery. I looked up for what was only a moment, and 2 shadowy figures came running at me. As is tradition with most people who experience this kind of thing, you are in shock, not really able to move. The 2 shadows ran past me. When I turned the other way to get a look at them, there was nothing there, just a single parking lot light, about 200 yards out. I stuck around for a few more minutes looking at my surroundings, trying to find anything, and there was nothing. I tried debunking right away, looking at any possible light sources that could have maybe been in the motion, causing some kind of shadow scattering effect when cast on an object. My findings were this. There's a giant 2-story tree line of pines alongside of the road, tightly packed together, so no vehicle turning at the corner or traveling down the road would have been able to shine my way. Couldn't figure out what it was, didn't have any solidity, was running fast, and it didn't seem interested in me at all. After that encounter, I stopped walking at nighttime and haven't seen anything like that since. Haunted indoor playground. This is my experience with a haunted indoor playground. I come from a town in Canada outside of a major city. My friend was working at an indoor playground for kids and invited me over one night to chill with her when we were the only ones in there. I come over and it's kind of spooky, but it's just us 2 teenage girls in this vast and quiet open space at nighttime, usually populated by kids. But she is finishing her duties for the night, cleaning and whatever, and I'm just having a blast by myself and playing in the play place as she worked. I'm totally an adult. Note, we weren't drinking. We were planning on drinking a bit later and playing on the playground afterwards, but she was just finishing up her duties for the night before we would do any of that. Eventually she was almost done and we started jumping on the trampoline together. No drinks in our system at all. We're jumping and talking when all of a sudden we both stop and look at each other. Something in the air felt different, like a change in the atmosphere. We both felt the hair on the back of our neck stand up at the same time. As we both stopped jumping and looked around, I shit you not, all the lights turned off at once. So the entire vast open playroom lights were on the entire place. Then it turned to darkness all at once. Fucking terrifying! Then all the little games that my friend had unplugged earlier turned on and started making noise. I'd seen her unplug them, yet this little merry-go-round in the upper corner was lighting up and going in circles. I heard other little games making noise as well, and then we heard what terrified me the most. We heard a little girl's laughter. Neither of us even looked at each other. We both bolted out for our lives towards the door. I remember screaming, "Fuck this! Fuck you! No, no, no! Fuck this!" And I also remember hurling the little kitty fence at the front as to not waste time opening it, as I need to get the fuck out of there. And bear in mind, I am not an athlete whatsoever. I'm at the entrance door and my friend says, "Wait, I have to lock up." And to do that, she needs to let me out, lock the front door, and walk back across the entire building to go at the back door and lock that one. So she lets me out the front, and I'm waiting near our cars in the parking lot for her to come back around. I'm waiting in my car trying to calm down when she knocks on my window. She said that she ran across the whole place in the dark and tried to use a flashlight on her phone for light, but her phone wouldn't turn on. But then it turned on when she was talking to me outside the place. Instead of drinking and spending the night in the playground, as we were going to do, we drove to her house and have a sleepover to comfort each other as well as process what just happened. This was years ago, but still we both remember it like this. The fact that we both heard the same thing. Nuh-uh, don't like it. Not ever gonna go back there again. But my friend did, as she kept working there for like 6 months after it happened. Some background to the place: she told me after this happened, is that they would have a bunch of maintenance guys or plumbers come over at night and be working alone, yet all of them reported the same thing. They all felt like there was someone watching them, and they all heard footsteps around the place when they were the only ones in there. Another thing my friend told me that happened, that in this one padded area kids kept getting hurt, like they would get cut or scratched when it was a padded area for kids. My friend said she drove herself mad trying to find what in that area of the park multiple kids could be hurting themselves with. She scoured that whole area and it was entirely padded, yet a few kids different times would get scratches. That freaks me out. Kids getting hurt? Fuck that. My friend also said that she had other friends over to the play at night, like she invited me. They also have their own stories, but I don't know all the complete entire details of those stories from the friends. And my story, all I know is that place is definitely haunted. Creepy occurrences at the playground. Unexplained. I live down the block from a school playground, and I usually go out late at night to have a cigarette while on the phone with someone so I feel safer. My parents don't know I smoke, but I like to keep it that way. The park and the school take up an entire block, and the streets surrounding it are all residential. So really, there are 4 main entrances to the park, and then one by the handball courts. If you were looking down at it from the sky, it would have a school, basketball courts, enclosed kiddie playground, baseball field, benches, and the main playground area, kind of a layout. So, this one night, I decided to walk an extra block and came in through the entrance with the enclosed kiddie playground. There's this really tall gate you have to go through to get into it, and to close it, you have to push it with a lot of force, twist the metal rod on the side, and have the rod slide into the hole, into the cement. When I went into the playground, the gate was wide open. There was no one in the park but me, and it was fairly late, so no one was walking around. I was talking to one of my friends on the phone with one earbud in, and the other out so I could hear what was going on in my surroundings. While on the phone, I was sitting with my back to the gates. I was there for maybe 20 minutes when I decided to leave. When I turned around, the gate was completely shut, and even the metal rod had been turned and put into place. That was my only way out, and I was panicking a bit because I didn't understand how the gate worked, and I thought I was trapped. I looked around frantically, but no one was around. I figured out how to open the gate, and when I pushed it, I had to use the majority of my upper body strength to push it. And to top it off, it made this horrid creaking sound. It wasn't windy that night, and even if someone closed it behind me, I would have heard them do it. I don't really know how it closed. I just know I walked in with it wide open, and when I turned to leave, it was completely shut. I go to this park regularly, and I started taking notice of the gates. I would sit as far away from the kiddie playground as possible, and kind of pay no mind to it. But I was there again tonight telling my friend what had happened. I started telling him because I noticed the gate was wide open. We were talking for a while, and we had gone off the subject of the gates, and I kind of remembered last minute what I told him. I turned to look at the gate, and it was completely closed again. I don't think I'll be going into the park at night anymore. The playset. It was my niece's 6th birthday today. It made me recall my own 6th birthday from years back. I got a playground set that was quite big. Well, at least in my little child mind it was. It had a slide and 2 swings that were connected together with a platform. I love the swings the most. The man who came by to build it, however, said he could only bring the materials to build the swings for today, and that he would be by tomorrow to build a slide. That did not matter to me though, I was too excited to care. I love the swings anyways. After the man was done building the swings, he was also able to make the platform that was elevated above the ground, which the slide would connect to. However, the man warned me to be careful, and I go up on the platform because it didn't have all the railings properly installed yet. I was so happy, all I wanted to do was swing, so there I swung. I was alone in our backyard while my father was inside the house. He kept the window in the kitchen open to listen out for me. I stayed there on the swing closest to the platform for hours. It was such a beautiful day. I remember how bright and sunny it was outside. I remember how quiet and peaceful that day was too, and how good it felt to feel the breeze outside. I kicked my feet back and forth, back and forth. I would swing really high up until I reached the top. Then I would let my feet dangle as I decelerated, and I would do it again. Then for some reason, as I swung back, I looked to my left at something that caught my eye. I noticed the right side of a person on a ladder that was leaning against the back of the PLAYSET's platform, where one of the railings were. In that slight second, I saw the man. I remembered every detail in my mind, though I never saw his face. I saw that he looked like a construction worker. He had a white long-sleeve shirt and blue jeans. He wore a cloth on his head that was covered with a dusty cap. He wore brown work boots, and he wore dirty worn gloves, and in his gloves was a hammer. He was hammering. He was hammering the railing on the playset. I thought this was so strange, but I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared at all. So I swung back once more. He was gone. I had no idea where he went or why he was there. I curiously jumped off of my sweat as it slowed down. I kept my head over my left shoulder, never taking my eyes off of the place I last saw that man. I go off, and I slowly made my way towards the back of my playset. There was only one man who built the playset, but he left hours ago and looked very different from the person I had just seen. I stood right there where that man had been standing, but nothing was there. No footsteps in the grass, no ladder, nothing. I slowly made a few laps around the playset, observing it closely. I looked around my yard for an answer, but there was nothing. My father then walked outside and called for me to come back into the house. When he saw me staring at the playset and asked what was wrong, I shook it off and told him it was nothing, that I was just happy to have a playset. He went inside, and eventually I made myself believe that I had imagined it. The builder came by like he said he would the next day, and he finished building the playset. I had practically forgotten what just happened and just let the incident fall to the back of my mind. Every day, I would play outside on that playset. However, I never went back to the back of that platform where that man had been. A few months later, though, I remember it was late at night. I'd already been tucked into bed when I heard my father yelling in a hushed tone. That was enough to wake someone who wasn't quite asleep yet. I went to my parents' room to see what in the world was happening at that moment. I opened their door and saw both my parents outside on the balcony that overlooked our backyard. My dad said he saw someone. He saw someone walking outside with a white shirt. I was scared, so my mother came inside and took me back to my room while my dad went downstairs to go and check it out. My mother stayed with me until he came back inside the house and up to my room. He said that there was no one out there and that they were gone. He assured me at that moment that everything was okay and to go back to bed. I didn't sleep much though that night. Instead, however, my little mind wondered about the man my dad saw. Eventually, that morning came, and I asked my dad what that man had looked like. My father said that he couldn't see his face, but that he looked like a construction worker. He said that he walked away from the area where my playset stood and walked under the balcony, then towards the back of the yard. My father said he had called out to him, so he thought the guy must have been startled and ran away. My parents at the time didn't know how much this frightened me. I saw that man, the man my dad described. To the white long-sleeve shirt, the jeans, the gloves, the hat, the cloth that covered his face, and those brown work boots. I told him what happened months ago, needless to say. The look of shock and fear and confusion was written all over their faces. I still remember that man after all these years. The second that I saw him play vividly over in my mind. I don't know what to make of it, but I will never exactly know what happened to that man. And maybe it was something else.